The assessment. The sleek, silver vessel descended through Earth's atmosphere, its hull gleaming in the morning sunlight as it approached the landing zone at the United Earth Council headquarters in Geneva. Unlike human aircraft, it made virtually no sound as it settled onto the reinforced landing pad with impossible grace. A crowd of officials, military personnel, and selected journalists watched with a mixture of awe and trepidation. Admiral Helena Chen stood ramrod straight, her dress uniform impeccable, as she waited for Earth's first official contact with the galactic Concordat. After decades of searching the stars had finally come to them. They're right on schedule, she murmured to Secretary General Okafor, who stood beside her. The tall Nigerian diplomat nodded, his expression carefully neutral. Punctuality. At least we have that in common with them, he replied. For several moments after landing, nothing happened. Then, with a soft hissing sound, a doorway materialized in the side of the craft. Light spilled out from within, and Admiral Chen instinctively tensed as the first alien emerged. Ambassador Kal of the Archery stood nearly 7 feet tall. At first glance, he appeared almost feline, bipedal, but with a sleek coat of short amber fur covering his visible skin. His eyes were large, vertical pupilled, and a startling emerald green. Behind him emerged representatives of 6 other species, each more alien than the last. "Welcome to Earth," Secretary General Okafor said, his voice steady despite the historical gravity of the moment. "We are honored to receive the Galactic Concordat." Kal inclined his head slightly. "Earth is officially acknowledged by the Concordat. Your species has shown notable progress for your developmental stage." There was something in his tone, a hint of condescension perhaps, that made Admiral Chen's diplomatic smile falter momentarily. The formal greetings continued under the watchful eyes of cameras broadcasting to every corner of the planet. Humans had prepared for this moment for generations, creating protocols and training specialized diplomats. Later, in the private council chambers, the true nature of the meeting became clear. Your fossil fuel dependency is quite primitive, but expected for a species at your development level, Ambassador Kal remarked, examining the detailed reports Earth had provided. Most civilizations abandon such inefficient energy sources once they discover clean alternatives. Secretary General Okafor smiled politely. "We're transitioning to fusion power, of course." "Ah yes, fusion. A stepping stone." Kal waved a clawed hand dismissively. "The Concordat typically provides technological assistance to developing worlds, but protocols must be followed." Another alien, a squat, amphibious being called Morta, leaned forward. "Your planet has abundant resources that would be valuable to the Concordat, particularly your heavy metals and biological diversity." Admiral Chen noticed how quickly the conversation had shifted to Earth's resources. She caught Secretary General Okafor's eye across the table, and a silent message passed between them. Their contingency plans would continue. "We are honored by your presence," Okafor replied with a perfect diplomatic smile. "Humanity has much to learn from your advanced civilizations." That evening, after the aliens returned to their ship to rest in their accustomed atmosphere, Earth's leaders gathered in a secure facility deep beneath Lake Geneva. "They see us as children," Secretary General Okafor said, reviewing the day's recordings. "Primitive beings barely worth their notice." Admiral Chen nodded. "Except for our resources, those they find very interesting." Dr. Wiseman, head of Earth's Advanced Technology Division, brought up a holographic display showing the alien vessel. They scanned our entire planet during their approach. Their technology is far beyond what we publicly acknowledge. But what?" Okafor prompted. "They're making assumptions based on their expectations. They believe we're following the same technological path they did. They're looking for antimatter drives, gravitic manipulation, quantum weaponry." Admiral Chen's mouth curved into a slight smile. "Not electromagnetic acceleration weapons." Dr. Wiseman pulled up another display showing a massive railgun facility hidden beneath the Antarctic ice. "They've advanced so far beyond kinetic weapons that they don't even consider them a threat. It's like an adult worrying about a child's water pistol while ignoring that the child also has a sniper rifle. In their ship hovering above Earth, Ambassador Call was having a similar discussion with his fellow Concordat members. "The humans are developing precisely as expected," he reported. "Their technology follows the standard progression: fossil fuels, early space exploration, primitive AI systems. They are at least a century from anything that could concern us." Morta, the amphibian, flicked her throat membrane thoughtfully. "Their military seems focused on chemical explosives and projectile weapons. Very inefficient. All young species begin that way," Kal replied. "They'll abandon such approaches when we introduce them to energy-based systems." "And their resources?" asked another council member. Kal's mouth curved into what passed for a smile among his species, abundant and largely untapped. "The extraction rights alone will pay for our expedition many times over." None of them realized that deep beneath the oceans, buried in mountains, and hidden in orbital installations disguised as debris, humans had been preparing for this moment for decades. They had developed technologies in ways the aliens never expected, perfecting methods the Concordat species had abandoned centuries ago. For now, both sides smiled and spoke of friendship, each believing they understood the other. Both were wrong. 3 months had passed since the Concordat's arrival. Earth had settled into an uneasy relationship with the galactic representatives. Today was important. The Concordat had sent a special assessment team to evaluate Earth's technological capabilities. Colonel Maya Patel stood at attention as the shuttle landed at the North American Defense Complex. The main visitor was Tyrex, a military analyst from the Voshik species. Unlike the feline Arcturi, the Voshik were reptilian, with iridescent scales that shifted colors with their mood. Tyrex moved with the deliberate precision of an apex predator. "Welcome to our facility," Colonel Patel said with a formal bow. "We're honored to show you our technological achievements." Tyrex's eyes, golden with horizontal slits, narrowed slightly. "I look forward to seeing what your species has developed." Behind him, 3 other aliens from different Concordat species followed, each carrying scanning devices and recording equipment. Their mission was clear: catalog human capabilities and determine if Earth posed any threat to the galactic order. Colonel Patel led them first to the Military History Museum. This was deliberate. Earth's leaders had carefully planned which technologies to reveal. "This section shows our development of firearms over the past 5 centuries, Patel explained, gesturing to glass cases containing everything from flintlock pistols to modern assault rifles. Tyrex picked up an M4 carbine, turning it over in his clawed hands. His scales shifted to a smug blue-green as he examined it. "These combustion weapons are quite quaint," he remarked, setting the rifle down with slight disdain. "Our civilizations abandoned such primitive kinetic weapons millennia ago. The propellant is inefficient, the projectile slow, and the heat signature makes the user immediately detectable." Colonel Patel nodded respectfully. "We're still developing our understanding of energy manipulation. We rely on what works for us." "A practical approach," Tyrex replied, though his tone suggested he found nothing practical about it. The tour continued through carefully selected facilities across the globe. At each stop, humans revealed technologies that seemed impressive by Earth standards, but were centuries behind what the Concordat species possessed. In Russia, they examined advanced missile silos that had secretly been decommissioned years earlier. In Japan, they were shown fighter jets that would have been cutting edge a decade ago. In the Atlantic, a nuclear submarine performed maneuvers that impressed the aliens only because they considered ocean technology a peculiar diversion. "Your underwater vessels are actually quite sophisticated," noted Tyrex as they watched the submarine through special viewing screens. "Though I'm surprised you devote so much military capacity to water combat." "Earth is mostly ocean," replied Admiral Yoshida, who had joined the tour. "Control of the seas has always been strategically important to us." What the aliens didn't see were the real advancements: the quantum communication networks, the new generation of electromagnetic weapons, the mechanical exoskeletons controlled by advanced neural interfaces. All these remained hidden in underground facilities or disguised as civilian research projects. At the International Space Station, T-Rex examined Earth's most advanced space technology with particular interest. "Your propulsion systems are still chemical-based," he commented, watching a video of a rocket launch. "Inefficient, but typical for your development stage." Dr. Lamar, the station commander, smiled politely. "We're making progress, though space exploration is expensive for us." "The Concordat could assist with more advanced drive systems," T-Rex offered. "For appropriate compensation, of course." That evening, the assessment team gathered in their temporary quarters to compare notes, unaware of the hidden microphones placed by Earth intelligence. They spoke freely. "Their technology is exactly as our predictive model suggested," T-Rex stated, compiling his report. "Combustion engines, basic digital computing, rudimentary AI, and chemical propellants. Nothing unexpected." Another alien, a multi-limbed data analyst named Zex, nodded. "Their most advanced weapons are still kinetic, throwing metal with chemical propellants. Energy weapons appear theoretical at best. Their fixation on projectile technology is interesting," noted a third alien with translucent skin. "Most species abandon such approaches once they discover plasma manipulation." T-Rex made a chittering sound that translated as laughter. "They're following a developmental dead end. Perhaps in a century they might develop something concerning, but for now." In the monitoring room, several floors below, Colonel Patel listened to the conversation with Admiral Chen. "They're underestimating us," Patel said quietly. "Just as we hoped." Admiral Chen nodded. "T-Rex is exactly the kind of arrogant military analyst we expected. He sees what he wants to see, a primitive species following the same development path as every other Concordat world." Colonel Patel reviewed the alien scanning data they had intercepted. "Their sensors detected nothing beyond what we wanted them to find. Operation Blind Spot is working perfectly." On the final day of the assessment mission, T-Rex presented his conclusions to Earth's United Defense Council. His report was comprehensive, and from the human perspective, perfectly wrong. In summary, T-Rex concluded, his scales gleaming a confident blue under the council chamber lights. "Human technology is progressing normally for a species at your development stage. Your reliance on kinetic weapons and combustion technology is typical, if somewhat inefficient." He settled back, his posture relaxed. "The Concordat classifies Earth as a Category 3 civilization, with at least a century of development needed before you could produce any technologies of concern. We recommend a standard protectorate status with resource-sharing agreements." Secretary General Okafor expressed appropriate gratitude for the assessment. "We value the Concordat's insights and look forward to learning from more advanced civilizations." After the aliens departed, Earth's true military leadership gathered in a secure facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Here, the 1st Operational Battalion of Mechanized Combat Suits, colloquially known as mechs among the troops, stood in silent rows, their advanced electromagnetic weapons systems fully integrated. "How long until full deployment?" Secretary General Okafor asked. Admiral Chen studied the global readiness map. 6 more weeks. Then we'll have comprehensive coverage from 42 hidden platforms, orbital, terrestrial, and submarine. And the aliens suspect nothing. Dr. Wiseman smiled slightly. "They're too advanced to look for something so primitive. Why would a species waste time perfecting kinetic weapons when energy weapons are the obvious path forward?" "Because," Colonel Patel added, "sometimes the obvious path isn't the only path." As the meeting concluded, Secretary General Okafor looked at the assembled mechs. 12-foot-tall exoskeletons piloted by specially trained soldiers, each armed with advanced railguns that could accelerate projectiles to speeds the aliens considered theoretically impossible for primitive technology. "Let's hope the Concordat continues to underestimate us," he said quietly, "because I fear we'll need these sooner than we'd like." His words would prove prophetic sooner than any of them expected. The revelation. 6 months of uneasy peace had passed since the Concordat's assessment of Earth. Life had begun to settle into a new normal. Humans went about their daily routines while diplomatic talks continued. Trade agreements were being discussed, cultural exchanges had begun, and Earth had even sent a small delegation to visit the nearest Concordat outpost in the Alpha Centauri system. On the surface, everything seemed to be progressing well, but behind closed doors, Earth's military leaders watched and waited. They had observed how the Concordat treated other developing worlds. The morning ambassador called, requested an emergency meeting with the United Earth Council. Secretary General Okafor knew something had changed. The council chamber was tense as the tall, feline alien entered without the usual pleasantries. "Thank you for meeting on such short notice," Cal said, his translator conveying his words in a flat tone that lacked his usual diplomatic warmth. "The Galactic Concordat has completed its assessment of Earth and determined the appropriate integration protocol." Secretary General Okafor nodded politely. "We look forward to hearing the Concordat's proposal." Cal activated a holographic display showing Earth's mineral deposits. Red highlights appeared across the planet, marking areas rich in rare metals and elements. The Concordat requires access to 27% of Earth's mineral resources as payment for technological uplift and protection services, he announced as if stating something perfectly reasonable. "Our mining operations will begin immediately in these designated zones." A murmur ran through the human delegates. This wasn't a proposal, it was a demand. Secretary General Okafor stood slowly, his face calm despite his rising anger. "Ambassador Cal, Earth respectfully declines. We seek equal partnership, not servitude." Cal's green eyes narrowed. "Perhaps I wasn't clear. This isn't a negotiation." "I understand perfectly," Okafor replied. "And my answer remains the same. Earth will not surrender its resources without fair compensation and equal standing in any agreement." The ambassador's pleasant demeanor vanished entirely, his fur bristling visibly. "Then you leave us no choice. Earth will be designated a resource extraction zone. Resistance is—" He paused, searching for the right word. "Inadvisable." With that, he turned and left the chamber without following any of the diplomatic protocols that had marked previous meetings. Admiral Chen, who had been observing from the back of the room, approached the Secretary General. "It seems they've shown their true intentions." Okafor nodded grimly. "How ready are we?" "As ready as we'll ever be," she replied quietly. 3 hours later, Earth's deep space monitoring stations detected multiple ships emerging from faster-than-light travel near Mars. The Concordat battle group consisted of 7 vessels, 1 massive command ship and 6 smaller but still imposing warships. In mission control, technicians tracked the alien fleet as it moved toward Earth. "They're taking standard orbital positions," reported Major Quaim, watching the tactical display. "Looks like they're spreading out to cover the major continental defense centers." Admiral Chen studied the pattern. "Just as we predicted. They're positioning for what they call limited tactical strikes, their standard approach for stubborn worlds." Secretary General Okafor observed from the command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. This facility, unknown to the aliens, had been built specifically for this possibility. "Have they made any demands yet?" he asked. As if in answer, all global communication systems received the same message simultaneously. Ambassador Cal's face appeared on screens worldwide. "People of Earth, your leaders have unwisely rejected the Galactic Concordat's generous offer. We regret this decision has led to the current situation. You now have 12 hours to surrender control of your planet's resource management. If you comply, minimal disruption will occur to your daily lives. If you resist, we will be forced to disable your military capabilities through limited tactical strikes. This action is regrettable but necessary for galactic stability." As the message ended, Admiral Chen turned to the Secretary General. "They believe their technology makes them invincible. Their shields can easily stop any missile we officially possess. They expect us to surrender without a fight." Secretary General Okafor's expression was resolute. Then they clearly don't understand humans very well. He turned to the communications officer. Connect me with Director Santos. On the screen, Director Santos appeared from her command post at the Lunar Defense Station. For 4 years, this base had been secretly constructed under the guise of a scientific research outpost. Madam Director, Okafor nodded. Mr. Secretary General, Santos replied. The Concordat Battle Group has established standard intimidation formation, just as the defectors from the Concordat predicted they would. Are we ready, Director? Yes, sir. All systems are operational. The electromagnetic defense network is fully charged. Ground-based units are prepared. The lunar batteries are aligned. Secretary General Okafor took a deep breath. The next few hours would determine humanity's future among the stars. Either they would become just another subjugated world in the Concordat's collection, or they would change the galactic power balance forever. You have authorization to proceed with Operation Thunderbolt at your discretion, Director Santos. The moment they make any aggressive move, you may engage. Director Santos nodded solemnly. Understood, Mr. Secretary General. She turned to her staff, her voice calm but commanding. Initiate Operation Thunderbolt. Throughout Earth's orbit and across the lunar surface, hidden installations powered up. In deep ocean trenches, massive energy capacitors began charging. Disguised as weather satellites, communications arrays, and space debris monitoring stations, Earth's true defensive network awakened. Aboard the Concordat command ship, Admiral Vexus of the Archery watched Earth with contempt. No unusual activity detected, his tactical officer reported. Their military forces are on alert, but they've made no aggressive moves. They know resistance is futile, Admiral Vexus replied. By this time tomorrow, they'll have accepted their new status. Prepare the targeting data for the demonstration strikes. We'll need to destroy at least 3 of their major military installations to prove our resolve. Sir, the tactical officer asked hesitantly, what about their nuclear weapons? Admiral Vexus made a dismissive gesture. Our shields can easily absorb such primitive attacks, and our first strikes will target their launch facilities. They'll never even get them airborne. On the lunar base, Director Santos watched the alien ships through advanced telescopes. The Concordat was confident, comfortable in their technological superiority. They had no idea what was coming. All electromagnetic accelerators report ready, her weapons officer announced. Kinetic projectiles are loaded, and targeting solutions are locked. Director Santos nodded. Now we wait for them to make the first move. They will, soon enough. They always do. She allowed herself a small smile. And then they'll learn why you should never underestimate a species that has spent its entire history finding better ways to throw rocks. The 12-hour deadline was almost up. In the deep underground command center, Earth's leaders gathered for what might be humanity's most important moment since discovering fire. Admiral Chen stood before the emergency session of Earth's united government, her uniform crisp, her expression calm despite the weight of what was about to happen. The Concordat ships have begun moving into attack positions, she reported. Their weapon systems are powering up. They intend to make an example of us. Secretary General Okafor looked around the room at the representatives of Earth's nations. The moment has come for us to reveal what we truly are. He nodded to Admiral Chen. Admiral, you have operational command. Defend Earth. The Admiral spoke into her secure communication link. Director Santos, Operation Thunderbolt is now active. You may fire when ready. Across the planet, and in secret lunar bases, massive electromagnetic railguns powered up. Energy that had been accumulating in hidden capacitors for days now flowed into the weapon systems. In his command center beneath the Pacific Ocean, Major General Tanaka watched as targeting solutions locked onto each Concordat vessel. All weapons report ready, sir, his weapons officer announced. Major General Tanaka took a deep breath. Decades of preparation came down to this moment. Fire, he ordered. Across Earth, and the moon. The rail guns discharged simultaneously. There was no dramatic flash, no thunderous boom in space, just the silent launch of hundreds of tungsten rods, each no bigger than a human arm, accelerated to speeds that defied the aliens' understanding of kinetic weapons. Aboard the Concordat flagship, Admiral Vexus was preparing to fire the first demonstration strike when alarms blared across the command deck. "Sir, multiple objects approaching." The tactical officer paused, checking his instruments. "That can't be right. The readings suggest velocities beyond what their technology should be capable of." Admiral Vexus barely had time to look up before the first impacts. The Concordat shields, designed to disperse energy weapons, proved useless against simple kinetic projectiles moving at impossible speeds. They passed through the energy barriers as if they weren't even there. Two smaller warships shattered instantly as tungsten rods tore through their hulls. The massive command ship shuddered as multiple projectiles struck its outer armor. "What is happening?" Admiral Vexus demanded, gripping his command chair as the ship rocked from another impact. "Their weapons can't possibly." His tactical officer interrupted, face pale with shock. "The humans are using rail guns, magnetic acceleration weapons." "Rail guns," Vexus repeated in confusion. "Nobody uses rail guns anymore. That's primitive technology." But the evidence was undeniable as another volley struck the fleet. Two more Concordat ships broke apart, their fragments spinning the way into Earth orbit. In mission control, Colonel Patel watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. First volley reports 80% hit rate. 4 enemy vessels disabled or destroyed. Admiral Chen nodded. "Prepare the mech battalions for deployment. We may have visitors soon." Around the world, massive hangar doors slid open, revealing squadrons of mechanical combat suits. Each 12-foot-tall mech represented the pinnacle of human engineering, a perfect fusion of advanced materials, neural interfaces, and electromagnetic weapon systems. Their pilots climbed in, neural links establishing connections to the machines. As predicted, the remaining Concordat vessels launched landing craft toward Earth. They clearly intended to salvage the situation with ground forces. "They're headed for key military installations," reported Major Quaim. "Washington, Moscow, Beijing, New Delhi." "Just as expected," Admiral Chen replied. "Deploy the mech battalions." Around the world, the mechs powered up. Unlike the clunky combat robots of science fiction, these were sleek, agile machines designed specifically to counter the Concordat's combat technology. Each was armed with scaled-down versions of the rail guns that had just devastated the alien fleet. The Concordat landing craft touched down near the American capital. Expecting minimal resistance, the alien troops emerged in standard formation. What greeted them was beyond their wildest nightmares. A battalion of mechs, 50 strong, rose from concealed bunkers around the landing zone. Their electromagnetic weapons whined as they charged, targeting systems locking onto the stunned alien forces. Military analyst Tyrex, who had accompanied the invasion force, stared in disbelief at the massive combat suits. "Impossible," he whispered, his scales pale with shock. "Your assessment showed nothing beyond basic projectile weapons." Colonel Patel, now piloting the lead mech, opened her external speakers. "You saw what we wanted you to see, Analyst Tyrex. You assumed we would develop technology along the same path as your species. That was your mistake." Tyrex finally understood his critical error. He had assessed human capabilities based on alien technological evolution, never considering that humans would perfect what other species had abandoned. While your people focused on energy manipulation, we continued refining kinetic weapons. Colonel Patel explained. "Our railguns accelerate projectiles to speeds your shields were never designed to stop. Our mechs operate on principles your sensors weren't calibrated to detect." On the main battlefield screen, they watched as the remaining Concordat forces attempted to retreat, their energy weapons proving ineffective against the heavily armored mechs. "Your shields are designed to disperse energy," Admiral Chen said. approaching Tyrex, who had been brought to the command center as a prisoner. A logical development for species who primarily use plasma weapons, laser arrays, and particle beams. But a simple metal rod moving fast enough. That's just physics. In lunar orbit, Director Santos watched with grim satisfaction as the Concordat fleet was reduced to scattered debris. Only the command ship remained partially intact, drifting powerless. Lunar Battery 4 reports direct hit on the flagship's propulsion systems. Her tactical officer reported. They're dead in space, Director. Santos nodded. Open a communication channel to their command ship. After a moment, Admiral Vexus's face appeared on screen. Behind him, emergency lighting cast red shadows across a damaged bridge. The proud Arcturi looked shocked, his amber fur singed and his confidence shattered. This is Director Santos of Earth Defense Force. Your fleet has been neutralized. We are prepared to rescue your survivors if you formally surrender. Admiral Vexus stared in stunned silence before finding his voice. How? Your technology. You're a Category 3 civilization. You shouldn't have weapons like this for centuries. You classified us based on what you understand. Santos replied calmly. That was your mistake. Do you surrender? After a long pause, Admiral Vexus nodded. We surrender. The news spread quickly across the galaxy. Earth, a supposedly primitive planet at the edge of the spiral arm, had defeated a Concordat battle group. Not just defeated, utterly destroyed 5 warships and crippled the flagship with weapons the Concordat had considered obsolete for millennia. The Concordat retreat was hasty and disorganized. The surviving command ship limped away, barely able to achieve faster-than-light travel. Within days, different Concordat representatives were contacting Earth, their messages suddenly respectful. In the United Earth Defense Headquarters, Secretary General Okafor met with his advisors. The Galactic Concordat requests new diplomatic talks, he announced, reading the latest transmission. They say there has been an unfortunate misunderstanding. Admiral Chen couldn't help but smile. Amazing how quickly their tone changes when they realize we can defend ourselves. Military analyst Tyrex, who had requested asylum on Earth after the battle, approached Secretary General Okafor. I wish to provide you with everything I know, he said, his scales now a subdued blue. The Concordat's true structure, their military capabilities, their plans for resource extraction across this sector. I was wrong about your species, and the Arcturi are wrong about how to manage the galaxy. Over the next weeks, Turex provided invaluable intelligence about the Concordat's operations, maps of their territories, details of their technology, and most importantly, information about other species unhappy with Arcturi rule. The Concordat underestimated you, he explained during one briefing. They believed advanced civilizations must follow the same technological path. Your approach produced weapons and defensive systems beyond our comprehension. Colonel Patel, now recovered from her mech deployment, looked thoughtful. You mean other species have been forced to develop along the Arcturi model? Exactly, Tyrex nodded. The Concordat finds developing worlds and guides them toward energy-based technology, creating dependency. Worlds that resist are subdued or isolated. Earth is the first to successfully fight back in over 300 years. The impact was immediate. 3 subjugated Concordat species reached out secretly through channels Tyrex helped establish. Each had suffered under Arcturi dominance, forced to provide resources while receiving minimal technological assistance in return. The Solari of Proxima Centauri wished to form a defensive alliance, Admiral Chen reported, reading the encrypted message. They've chafed under Arcturi rule for centuries. The Nemethi Confederation sends similar requests, added Colonel Patel. They control 11 systems near the galactic core. Secretary General Okafor studied the star map showing these potential allies. The Arcturi dominance is crumbling, all because they underestimated a single world at the edge of explored space. 3 months after the battle, Earth received a formal invitation to join the reformed Galactic Concordat. The meeting would take place on the neutral planet Nexus, a world specifically designed for interspecies diplomacy. Earth's delegation traveled aboard its first faster-than-light vessel, built with technology traded from their new allies. Admiral Chen marveled at the stars streaking past the viewports. 6 months ago, we were alone in the universe, she said quietly to Colonel Vital. Now we're reshaping galactic politics. Because we were underestimated, Paddle replied. Sometimes being overlooked is the greatest advantage. The Grand Council chamber on Nexus was a massive dome with seating for representatives of 20 different species. The Arcturi occupied the central position, their numbers reduced but still commanding respect. All eyes turned as the human delegation entered. Secretary General Okafor took his place at the speaker's podium, his voice calm but carrying throughout the chamber. Humanity comes seeking friendship, not dominance, he began. We've demonstrated we can defend ourselves, but we prefer cooperation. Technology doesn't follow a single path. Diversity of approach brings strength to us all. He gestured to the various species present. Each of us evolved on different worlds, faced different challenges, and found different solutions. Why should we all follow the same technological development? The greatest innovations come when different paths cross and share their knowledge. The chamber was silent when he finished. Then, slowly, representatives began to signal agreement in their various cultural ways. Over the next 10 days, the Concordat was reformed. No longer would the Arcturi hold absolute authority. Earth became a founding member of the new alliance, alongside the Solari, the Nemithi, and even some Voshic factions who had broken from their traditional Arcturi alliance. The Arcturi were humbled but included in the new structure, their experience and advanced technology still valuable to the galactic community. Their attempt to subjugate Earth had accidentally created a more balanced, equitable system for all species. On the final day, as the formal treaty was signed with great ceremony, Ambassador Cal approached Admiral Chen. "I must know," he said quietly, his once arrogant demeanor replaced with genuine curiosity. "How did we miss your capabilities so completely?" Chen smiled. "Throughout human history, we've been throwing rocks at our problems. We've just gotten much better at how fast we throw them. And those mechanized combat suits, your mechs, as you call them. Just another way to throw rocks more effectively," she replied. "Your people became so focused on energy manipulation that you forgot the basic principles of physics. A rock moving fast enough can do as much damage as any laser. A lesson we won't forget again," Cal acknowledged. Chen looked around at the diverse species mingling peacefully. "What happens now is we learn from each other. You teach us about energy manipulation, dimensional physics, and faster-than-light travel. We teach you about kinetic weapons, alternative technological paths, and perhaps the value of not underestimating those you consider primitive." 6 months later, the first joint human-alien research facility opened on Earth's moon. Scientists from 12 species worked together, combining their unique approaches to create technologies none could have developed alone. And far away, at the edge of charted space, other civilizations heard the story of a small blue planet that had changed the balance of galactic power overnight, all because they had perfected a technology others had abandoned as primitive. Some called it the Earth paradox. Sometimes moving forward requires looking back at paths not taken. Sometimes those who appear most primitive are simply those who took a different path to the stars. And sometimes, the most effective weapon in the galaxy is still just a very fast rock.